Hey, welcome to my booth. I'm Jay, and today's sample is from Chase. We're not doing this on a Thursday because I missed last week because of the holidays, and I had pre-recorded this, but everything ended up getting corrupted somehow. C'est la vie. But Chase has a great sample here. It's his first demo of sorts, and just looking for any old feedback that we can give. We're going to do that, of course. If you'd like me to provide feedback just like this for your work, there's a form in the description. Fill it out, send me something. There's coaching on my website, and of course, this is YouTube. If you like this stuff and you find it helpful, you can click the buttons to support easily. You can just be here, hang out, and there's other ways to support in the description. That said, let's take a listen.
Lyra spent her days in the shade of ancient oak trees, staring up at their towering branches, lost in daydreams of distant lands and forgotten magic. The village was small, humble, its inhabitants simple folk who never strayed far from the familiar paths. But Lyra, she could never be content with the ordinary. "What do you think is beyond the mountains, Riven?" Riven, her loyal fox companion, tilted his head, his amber eyes glowing in the dappled sunlight. He was more than just a pet. He was her confidant, her protector, and though he never spoke, Lyra could understand him better than anyone else.
I'm actually really glad that my whole last effort was corrupted, because I have a lot of different insights listening now after having had some time away. Chase, really great start here, and there's a lot we can talk about. So firstly, I really like your read of this. I enjoyed a lot. You've got a really nice, easy pacing to things. You have a great, easy to listen to voice. So, you're already off to a great start on both counts there. And there are just a couple of small things that you can do that I think will have a big effect in terms of your performance. I don't know what this is from, but there are a few things here that this little passage introduces us to. Firstly, we are introduced to Lyra. And this beginning passage here, we understand that she lives sort of like in a pastoral, sort of plain, easy. You could think of it like the Shire, I guess, where not a lot goes on, not a lot of adventure is expected. It's just kind of like a simple and contented existence. And she wants more than that. She's got curiosity just like thrumming through here. And so this first passage, she's spending all of her time dreaming about stuff. We get a sense that this world has magic in it. I mean, she's talking to a fox, and that has a sense of whimsical nature to it. So all that said, this passage here where she talks is kind of the thrust of what I'm getting at.
"What do you think is beyond the mountains, Riven?"
The way that we can deliver that, I think your character voice is perfectly great for this. But because this whole character is really curious, really driven, and she really wants to know what's behind the mountains. And that sort of unbridled curiosity, I would venture to guess, is what then will lead us on to a wonderful adventure after this, if this is the beginning of the story. And so infusing what do you think is beyond the mountains, Riven, with a bit more of that genuine curiosity and need to know, and that hunger, I think is an important aspect to understand, both when she asks this question, to ask that sincerely and with that sort of backing behind it. You don't have to show me those things, just having that in mind, that she really wants to know, God, what do you think is really beyond those mountains, Riven? And that'll give us more of an insight into the character. Likewise, in this first passage here, where there's sort of you're doing a great job in terms of your tone of voice, your pacing, letting us know about this like pastoral existence, this really chill, for lack of a better term, village that she lives in that's really beautiful, picturesque. And she feels kind of like bound in by that, and the sense of curiosity beyond. We could also infuse that into this section.
Lyra spent her days in the shade of ancient oak trees, staring up at their towering branches, lost in daydreams of distant lands and forgotten magic.
So there's like a little bit of a duality there as well. Like she has this wonderful life that many would be perfectly content and happy with, but her mind is elsewhere. And just playing with that as much as we can, I think will really dial it up. And then likewise, let me listen to the bit about the fox again.
Riven, her loyal fox companion, tilted his head, his amber eyes glowing in the dappled sunlight. He was more than just a pet. He was her confidant, her protector, and though he never spoke, Lyra could understand him better than anyone else.
So I would love more information about Riven before I made any big judgment calls on how I would direct you to do this, perhaps. But knowing that she can ask the question, what do you think is beyond those mountains, Riven? And the way she asks that question of Riven, and then the way you describe his response to her, which is tilting his head with his amber eyes, the way you describe the fox and our thoughts about the fox and Lyra's ability to understand Riven, you can infuse this whole section here with how we, the audience, might want to begin to understand Riven a little bit more, whether that's that, like tilts his head. You could say tilts his head in many different ways. Tilts his head, tilts his head. Anyway, the way you infuse it and the subtext underneath it can help us get a better idea of where we're going with Riven. Like, she can understand him. Is that the childhood way where we look at our pets and we understand them implicitly, or does this fox actually have sentience and cognition where he can carry on a conversation with Lyra and she can understand in kind? So those are my sort of performance notes. Then in terms of technical stuff, your setup right now, it could be improved a fair amount. The noise floor and just general noise here, if we play a bit of it. It's got a lot of static and it's just a really high noise floor. And there are a couple of things that may be contributing to that. I would venture to guess that you likely aren't using a terribly expensive microphone. Maybe there's some other stuff going on between your microphone and the computer. Sometimes, like, for example, the XLR cable, the thing that plugs into your microphone, if you're using an XLR microphone and you're using a dynamic microphone, if that's running across like a power wire or something, sometimes that can, I don't think that's what's happening for you, but that can introduce a lot of noise to your signal chain. So if you want to go further with this in terms of like voiceover as a career, I'd treat your space a little bit more, and I would probably upgrade your equipment just to get a cleaner signal in general. But yeah, overall, really, really excellent work here, Chase, and a lot of good stuff happening. I particularly enjoy that you don't feel like sometimes at least when I was starting out, it sounded like I was really curating things, like I would really craft, and my hands were all over my performances, and you could see and hear that in a big way. And you sound pretty darn natural in general, which I think is a really great start. So solid. I hope this is helpful for you, and for everybody else, hope it was helpful for you as well. And until the next one of these, well, I guess that'll be in the next year. So Happy New Year, y'all, and I'll see you there. Toodles.